we couldn't figure out a topic for our live video. So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Well, not just that, but we have been doing. There's lots of stuff that is going to happen on the farm that's going to make the farm look a lot better in the very near future. We're getting essentially an entire outside work storage workstation that's going to be going together because we got
which Ian is especially excited.
I'm really excited about, yeah, because it's the culmination of a lot of different projects, or a lot of different work that's been done. But we're getting a crane to come in and move our shipping containers to their final location, which will make it so that we can organize all of our garden farm gear, just all the big bulky stuff. I can empty out the shop that has a lot of stuff in it still that isn't in the shipping containers. We'll just clear up all that usable in the shop space, and we're going to be getting more and more real estate that's like really highly valuable, like cleared out and ready to use. So not only will we have like a sweet outside storage area, but the outbuilding, which you can see back there, the outbuilding is going to be way more functional this year for us. And the outbuilding itself, it got a bathroom reno this winter. And
yeah, it's gonna look so fancy.
And then it got a lot of finishing work in the main space as well, and it's gonna get painted this upcoming weekend. And after that, like, we can put some art on the walls in some spots, and keep it. It'll be like more open. There won't be clutter in there everywhere. So it's just gonna look really clean and professional.
We've been. I know that's what we've been talking about, like, for the last, I don't know, all winter, I guess. But we're really excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm really excited because Ian has been moving the fence for the chickens. Our daughter's coming in. Do you want to show off? If you can do it in like 30 seconds. Okay, Leah wants to show off what she's been working on this week.
She sewed a teddy today.
Yeah, she learned how to use my sewing machine. She must have been watching last week's live where I talked about my sewing machines at the very end.
Yeah.
And decided that I should teach her. So today, all on her own, she made up this teddy.
Good work, Leah.
And I'm pretty impressed.
Did you
better than anything Ian could have done?
All of it?
Everyone's saying that it looks really good and that it's super cute.
Yeah, so good job sewing.
Yeah, so the thing I'm really excited about this week is, first of all, 34 yards of compost.
Yeah.
That's exciting for two reasons. The first reason is last year we could only get 24 yards dumped at a time. So it was nice to get a big mountain of compost, because that last year I got paranoid that like everything was going to be shut down for the rest of 2020 because we buy our compost like now in March, and this was like right when all the like who knows what COVID's going to be was happening last year. So I was like, we need a year's worth of compost.
Yeah.
So we bought 2 trucks worth. So we had like 48 yards last year.
Yeah.
And we still have a little bit.
We
left.
Still have some.
Yeah. But so with what we have now, that'll get us well into the summer. We won't really need to do much until get another load until later. So it was exciting because if we would have gotten a 24 yard load, it definitely that extra 10 yards really takes us past the spring. And so then we don't have to worry about storing compost.
What else is really exciting is Serena touched on it. I moved the chicken run fence. So the chickens used to have, I don't know.
Well, I know someone was like, oh, look how much brighter it is. I know we're almost to the point we can start doing these outside again.
Yeah. So the chicken run's about what, half an acre? Was maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we never measured it.
It was a big space, and they didn't necessarily use it all, and they definitely didn't keep it all bug free. So we cut back their space because a lot of that was going to be farm expansion, and we decided that we should put a little bit of effort into that this spring. So basically now the chicken run it's like 25 feet from our property line, and it's like a 200-foot long section, so it's like a long, skinny rectangle. And then we now have space. I measured it out. We have space for 40 more 50-foot beds. It's pretty impressive. That is a lot of farm.
Yeah.
And
Though
I don't think it's gonna
the plan is, so he had to move the fence because the plan all along.
Yeah,
this was always
been the plan.
The goal was that the chickens were gonna do some work to getting the soil ready, which they did not.
Yeah, they were just babies in the spring, and then
I think they'll be more aggressive about bugs this year, and they'll also be more aggressive about bugs because they'll have less space. Right, there'll be less for them to do.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna clear out the area that they do have to, because there is a fair amount of like just stuff that's still in there.
And though I will say, that's like a summer job.
Yeah, that's not a rush job. But if I can get it all like flattened down so that it's just like this open area that any grasshopper would have to, take his luck going through.
Okay. Yeah.
As opposed to like a place that's got piles of wood all over the place, basically all along the fence line. There's just different piles of various wood that I still haven't, gotten rid of.
Yeah, like that was the fence line was where all the junk got put by the previous however 100 years of owners.
Yeah.
There's definitely some treasures in there.
Not anymore.
But there's like cement blocks that we've like pulled out, and there was like gates.
Yeah,
there was like chain
link
fence
useful stuff
gates.
There. It looked like a lot more useful stuff until we started picking it all apart, and everything was either disintegrating or rotten or one thing or another. But all the stuff that we thought like had value actually didn't have any value. And this past, what was it? When did I do it? Last spring or last summer? I put a lot of work into dump runs.
No, it was in the spring because we had to clean up the space to get the chicken.
Oh, yeah.
Because where the chickens are was just like a lean-to full of like garbage. And so we had to clean it up so that we could, and it was open. It was like an open lean-to. So we had to put a front onto it, put a door, get it all set up for the chickens. And that entire area, like we had put some windows out there. And like a couple of them had gotten broken.
Yeah, it was just.
And so there was like, it was a nightmare.
Yeah, there's like so much stuff to deal with, and I feel like it's one of those tasks that really doesn't get noticed at all. Like, I'm not saying that it needs to be noticed by anyone, but
what Ian is saying
it's a lot
he
of
would
work.
like to now see in the live chat all the recognition that Ian cleans up. But you know what, guys? Like 100%, like shout out to Ian, because I do not clean up anything ever.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh, garbage, perfect, more garbage, and Ian's like, it's so messy, and I'm like, it's fine. Like,
it is kind of funny. Like everybody always gives me a hard time for being like a messy person. I had a heavy equipment company for years. And I had so much stuff from that because we had like 5 trucks at one point in time. They were all filled with like these forced equipment tool, things and slip tanks. And then we lived in like a urban lot, and I'd have all of these trucks and trailers parked in our backyard. And then I'd empty it all out into our garage, and it would just be this mountain of stuff. And it would come out in waves, and I'd spend a day and I'd go through everything, have it totally clean. And then it would be like the next wave hits of tools, and I have to go through that. And somebody would come in and they'd be like, "Oh, it looks
okay.
How do you live in here?"
Okay, I gave a shout out for Ian for cleaning, but
you're cutting me off now.
I'm gonna cut him off because Ian is very unorganized. It's true, right? Like you're good. You clean, like you tidy, but like you don't necessarily like are like putting it where it needs to go for like bump things around a few times before they get put into the final destination.
Serena doesn't understand that sometimes things can't go away because this is too big to move into another spot right now. Like,
no, and I get it.
And like I'm dealing with things that are extremely heavy. Some of them are like oily or dirty or this or that, and it's hard to have enough space. But now that I have shipping containers, I can show the whole world what my core is. Because my core is clean.
Instantly, we have 2 20-foot shipping containers, and Ian's like, because he's like, I need these to organize. And like, I'm fine. I'm with that. He was like, I want it to be like tidied up. He like flies the drone and he's like, looks so bad in videos because there's like garbage
Yeah,
piles.
there's
I'm
like a
like,
big
no
jump
one's
spot.
looking at the garbage pile. Yeah, the light of the
Yeah.
builder. That's because I was working. I was working out there.
She literally just came in.
Yeah, like 10 minutes before the live video.
Did you put the chickens to bed?
No, because
Yeah, obviously.
yeah, so what? Oh, complaining about Ian. That's fair. Ian was trying to distract me from this. Okay, yeah, so we 20-foot shipping containers, and he's like, amazing, but like, I think we need more shipping containers. And I was like, you know what's an option? Like, getting rid of garbage is also an option instead of like literally buying a house for garbage. I'm like, yeah, they have this like garbage storage spot for a very low fee. You can put your garbage there. It's called the dump. But I'm pro. No complaints. Ian cleans. Ian's like, you know.
I could have like a shipping container just filled with like tarps and gardening, like all this farming equipment stuff. You know, that's the thing, is the farming stuff is insanely big. And then what I'm not sure if I have enough space for, because I wanted to get two 40-foot shipping containers, and I got noed out on that one. But I've got a lot of wood. You know, I like to, when I start a project, I like to have wood handy so that I don't have to like stop and start, right? I like to be able to just go to my little Home Depot and, you know, find all the stuff that I need. And then, you know, if I'm ever missing something, I can pick it up on a, you know, the next run to town. But I don't have to like stop and start my projects. I always have the stuff that I need finished. And it would be nice to have all that wood out of the shop.
You know, I'm just.
And I don't think I have space.
I'm like, there literally is Home Depot for storing like a shipping container of wood.
I know, but you give me projects all the time, and then I can do them. It's
you know, I'm also
and
in the timeline running down to Home Depot and buying the appropriate amount of supplies.
We also have a family member who will occasionally come like drop off like an entire skid of wood or something like that, right? So.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like if we have a family member who can get us like deals on wood, so you know, in that case, like
we do live in BC, right?
Okay.
So
people are just like, okay, we do have a stack of wood, right? But my position is
it's like tall. It's this tall.
It's like a pallet of wood,
and it's
right, and it's like it makes sense because we got like a deal.
6s and 2x8s.
Yeah. And the reason why we have it is literally because we were going to build a farm stand. We were going to build like a 10x10 shed with it. You know, so it's here for like a reason. But we don't need more than that. And it definitely doesn't, it's not going to fill
it's
a
like,
shipping container.
No, but having a spot for wood, you know, like having.
Yeah, which is the shipping container. That's what we're going to do with the shipping container. Okay, so I saw a question about the compost. Someone was, and people are asking like, about, okay,
this compost is amazing.
This compost is the best thing ever. You know, we talk about like maybe in the future we'll like sell it retail at our seedling sale, because every time people come, they're just like,
because it's from a peat mine, so it's like really fine and consistent. There's no plastic in it. I've never seen like any bits of plastic or garbage.
Yeah. Well, okay. So
it's totally clean.
Okay. So most people in our area get their compost from the dump. The dump has a program where they, you know, they take all the yard waste, they take all the wood, the untreated wood, and they chip it up, and they make a compost, which they then sell. It's called Glengrow. It's a great product, but it's full of plastic. It's full of like, oh, someone threw like a grocery bag full of like, oh, I shucked my corn into a grocery bag and then I threw it into the green bin.
Or it's at the dump and a garbage bag blew across the field and blew into it.
Or it's just like you're digging and it's just like fruit peel like labels, right?
You get these like tiny little bits of plastic all the way through it. And this stuff that we get is like
so let me backstory. I'm telling a backstory. Okay, Ian's rushing my backstory.
Well, we do only have 2 hours.
So we even though the price is right, and we're actually pretty close to the dump. Like, how far are we from the dump? 15 minutes. Yeah, we're fairly close to the dump. And the dump you can like order a 40-yard truckload too. But we've used this in our home garden, and we didn't want to deal with just constantly be adding like garbage to the farm. So the only way to guarantee you are not going to be getting garbage, right? Because no matter what, anyone who is like sending their compost away from their own home is not taking their peels off of, or their labels off of their bananas. No matter what, it's going to have garbage in it. So I was like, it has to be certified organic compost that we get, so that we have basically a guarantee it's not going to have garbage in it. We had popcorn earlier.
Yeah. There used to be a guy in town who
tell about Dean.
Dean was like a crazy guy. He was really cool. He was super mechanical, and he was really passionate about making compost. And he had this cool location right by like Mission Creek, which is one of the main little rivers that flow down into, and like he had it kind of right over by the mall, but tucked in so that it was like, you're right in Kelowna, but then you just kind of drive off the road for a minute, and then you're in this like
but
cool
tell them about
farm.
How he did the compost.
Right?
Because he was our old source. Yeah.
He grew it, and he had like 8 acres or something like that.
And so he made compost by actually growing green crops.
Yeah.
To compost, to sell compost.
Yeah. And he had
and wood chips too, right? He
had a cool old pickup truck that was like, it has like a flame job on it or something like that. It was funny. But then he had it so that he rigged it up so that the actual bed ticked, and you just could dump it out.
But so it was like a 5-yard delivery type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a crazy guy.
And good price, and he made really nice compost because it was organic, because he was growing his own stuff, and it wasn't full of garbage. Okay, so moved to the farm, no longer wanted to dump garbage, so I needed to find a source for compost. So I started searching for organic compost in our area. And so there's a couple places, but the one that we buy from is Black Diamond Soil Services. And the reason why we bought from them is like they were like $20 cheaper a yard than any of the other organic people in the area. And their delivery fee is like insane. Their delivery fee is so cheap. Because how far is Grinrod from here?
I know, like an hour and a half round trip.
Yeah, like they're pretty far away.
No, 2-hour round trip, because he said it took him about an hour to get here.
Okay. So they charge $200 for delivery from all that distance for like a big load. It's like a crazy deal.
Yeah.
So this year our compost prices went up $5. We paid $45 a yard for it. But I anticipated that, because I know someone was saying like, oh, everything's so expensive because of COVID. They were so cheap when we first bought from them, like in comparison. They went up $5 last year too. And honestly, like, hopefully they're not listening, but I'm gonna keep buying from them like until they hit $60 a yard. They're fairly priced.
Yeah, it's hard to ever
at
imagine.
$60 a yard at that point, I'd then start thinking about maybe picking the garbage out of the Glen Grove.
I don't know.
I mean, at that price, you could almost like pay someone to like dig through it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so like it's a great deal. What was the order? Because Ian paid. What was our? Because they said they threw in a few extra yards.
It was just under $1,700.
Yeah. For the order with everything.
Hey, there's something else that happened this week. I got sick.
Well, no, first let's finish talking about the compost. Okay, so the other thing about the compost is because we aren't certified organic, so we don't have to grow with anything certified organic. So they were like, oh, well, if you're not organic, like lots of people who are farms like it when we mix in a little bit of chicken manure. They're like, we have a source for chicken manure. Yeah. And so they add about 10%.
No, 5%.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, so a little bit, enough that it's like it comes and it's like, oh, it smells good.
No, it doesn't.
Like it smells
It
like
smells.
like manure, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't smell good, but it smells.
Like, you know, like a week later, it's like pretty much burned off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this stuff is pretty crazy because you can grow right in it, and like it doesn't really burn the plants. Like we've tried it with a bunch.
I feel like
And I was talking to the delivery driver about it, and like I don't know what his position in the company is, but he seems to like be part of the company, and he talked about growing stuff like right in it too, and it's like,
if it is the same guy who's been delivering for the last couple of years, he told me that he built a big garden for his wife, and he like built like a bunch of raised beds, like tall raised beds, and he filled them with pure compost.
Yeah.
Because he works there. He was joking to me. He's like, oh yeah, my wife's so mad at me. Been working at this company for all these years, and she's like, how come you never bring any of that good stuff home? He's like, oh, so finally I had to build her garden. It was a funny story, but yeah, he was like, I just used this. We usually amend the beds with a couple inches.
I'd say,
of it.
well, yeah, I'd probably do a wheelbarrow load every 10 feet.
Yeah, well, really 5 per.
I do 5 per bed.
Okay, Ian does it, so
yeah.
Ian knows best. I usually say 4, but that's good to know. We do add in some fertilizer. We buy whatever our local farm store tells us to buy. So I have no idea about it. We're like, whatever's organic, and they're like, here's the bag. You know, it's labeled. They must buy it in like crazy bulk and just bag it into their own bags. So I don't know what it is, but we put down whatever the recommendation is for that, as well as the compost. So we do use fertilizer. The reason why we're like, woohoo, compost, isn't so much about the fertility that it adds. It's more about the fact that we need the ability to hold more water in the ground. So the compost functions kind of as mulch in the farm. Sometimes we till it in, sometimes we just leave it right on the surface.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not necessarily getting put down as like a source of nitrogen for.
Our soil is so
just
sandy.
to hold some moisture in. And I at this point I've noticed a difference.
Yeah, it's definitely
right. It's less of a sand pit.
Those 40 new beds that we're going to be kind of getting in the initial prep stages. We're talking about potentially growing sunflowers just through the whole entire thing.
Oh, there's an update. So we got an email from Sunflower Selections.
Yeah.
And so we didn't crash their website. I was correct. I was correct when I said that I thought it had something to do with the Texas blackouts. They said their server was based in Texas, and they actually at the point at which the website was completely down, that wasn't me breaking it.
That was them switching.
That was them switching
to another host.
To a new host. And that's the reason why there was this like weird like contact your webmaster notification on it. But they did say that we all like ordered a lot of sunflowers from them.
Yeah.
They were like we had no idea what was going on. we couldn't figure out where all this traffic was coming from. And they're like, until we heard people on social media talking about your video. So that was fun.
Yep.
Yeah. And now I'm less paranoid about crashing websites. Though there's still, don't go to my website. We'll crash my website if all of you guys go to my website.
For a long time, because our You Can't Eat the Grass website got set up like years ago, and
and
we didn't really set it up.
Don't send emails to You Can't Eat the Grass
at least
or whatever that is. Like we share email in all of our descriptions.
But it used to forward to the junk email box, specifically the junk email box.
No, you used to forward to my email, and I do not use. You do not use it, but it went to your spam box in the account that you don't use. Yeah. So many messages were we didn't even know
lost.
We didn't even know that there was like anything set up on there.
And then this winter, some point in time, I went and I checked that because I was over on your email, and I
you're
saw
like, there's all these messages.
yeah, so I had to figure out how to log into the the controls for that website.
Well, I knew
what's
how
going
to
on here? Like,
yeah. I know enough about websites to know.
we got our crazy kid.
Okay, listen.
You can't be.
You can't be in here all crazy, okay?
You can.
You can do your bed jumping thing, or.
I have your cell phone.
Okay, but not in here.
Go in another room.
Okay. What there was, like, I guess we answered the fertilizing. Okay, so seeds. Yeah, because I was reading questions. We don't have our William Dam seeds yet, but our seeds have been shipped. They're supposed to be here on Wednesday.
We didn't get correctly put into the farm supplier or whatever, the farm, the farm list, so they didn't send them out. And then we contacted them and they they sent them out. So,
I sent a really nasty email and also spam them on every single social media platform because yeah, exactly, I need those damn seeds.
Yeah.
It's literally the entire farm. And like,
yeah, you had contacted them earlier.
I contacted, okay,
and they
here's the backstory. So they weren't sending any shipments out. Their whole like plan for like what they were gonna do is that they were going to, any orders that they got in like December and January, they weren't gonna start shipping out until like January 18th, I think was the date or something. And so, end of January rolled around and they're like, ooh, actually it's gonna like, we're like way behind. It's gonna take like 6 weeks. So like let us know. And I was like, what does that mean? Like 6 weeks from when you ordered, like 6 weeks like from today? Like, so, and they were like, if you're a farm, let us know. And we're going to prioritize farms. So I sent them a message and I was like, listen, like I need my seeds to ship out like, beginning to mid-February in order to have them by March. Is that like still the timeline? What, like, I'm a farm, what's going on? And they're like, oh yeah, like no problem, should be fine. And then end of February, I like lost my mind because I saw all these posts on Facebook of all these home gardeners being like, I heard, like people being like, what's going on with William Dam seeds? And home gardeners like, oh, well, I ordered my seeds and like they showed up in a week. And I'm like, I'm gonna murder them. How dare they ship out to like these home gardeners who like ordered a week ago, but like all these farms. And then I like all their social media is filled with farmers being like, excuse me, you said you're gonna like ship out farm orders. So I sent them another like wall of spam. I was like, and Ian was like, I don't even want to hear about it anymore. And then they got back to us and they were like, oh, you weren't on the farm list, but like we'll send it out. So
you done?
So I don't know if you guys know this, but I love Johnny Seeds. And so maybe I'm just gonna buy from Johnny Seeds from now on. I sent them, I was like, hey Johnny's, like you should sponsor us. I was like, Red Roof Farms sponsored by Johnny Seeds. And they're like, but we don't have to. And I was like, oh, you got me. You totally don't have to. I'm totally just going to give you all my money. Well, okay. So the customs, right? So the thing about the buying seeds from the States, custom and the customs that you have to pay on it is technically the customs that you have to pay is you just have to pay tax. Like the customs that you pay when you get your Johnny's order is you have to pay like a broker's fee, and they're usually like $10. They're not too bad. And then you have to pay like the taxes, which if you buy them domestically, you have to pay the taxes anyways. So getting dinged with like the customs on seeds, I'm never too, I'm never too upset on it. For me, like the big expense for ordering from Johnny's as opposed to ordering from someplace in Canada is the shipping from Johnny's is like really really expensive. They're like flat rate to Canada price, like the smallest order is it's like $25 American, which Americans usually 30% higher. Yeah, so the shipping is expensive, and then like obviously like a $10 or $20 broker's fee on the customs that is extra, as opposed to just like paying paying tax. But Johnny's has like everything I want except for Juliet. I bought their so they've stopped carrying Juliet tomatoes. um they carry something called Verona instead. And so I trust Johnny's seeds a lot. So if Johnny's is like, Juliet, no good. What you want instead of Juliet is Verona, then I have to try it. But I also really, really love Juliet, so it's hard for me to know if I truly am gonna like Verona as much, because it's hard to imagine for how much I like it. Um, yeah, for like Canadian seed sources, Burpee, I don't know. They're very expensive, and I'm not convinced that they're expensive for any reason over like their prices are high. There's for Canadian places, there's Vesey's, Vesey. And so that, yeah, okay, so the custom fees, I see someone being like, is it like $100? It can definitely be $100 when I'm spending like $1,000 on seeds. Our tax rate here is 12%. So the customs fee is gonna be charging that 12% tax, plus like a broker's fee. Territorial seeds, isn't that in the States? I don't know that. I didn't know that that's a Canadian company. I liked William Dam seeds because they had like a balance of the good growing hybrids that I really like, as well as a handful of the heirlooms that like, because we grow some more heirloom stuff, because like all the heirloom open pollinated stuff, it's cheap seed, right? So it's good seed for me to have for the seedling sale. I'm a mega snob. There's no world in which I grow Marketmore cucumber, but people want Marketmore cucumber, and I could get like a bucket of Marketmore cucumber for the price of like a small pack of the expensive seeds, that I like to grow. So I like getting some of that stuff for the seedling sale. Shawnee's chip UPS. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, I think UPS, United Postal Service, the one that does the flat rate. Heirloom. Yeah. I laugh about right. It's heirloom. And I pay for my heirloom seeds with all my doll hairs, because that's, in my opinion, if heirloom seeds aren't priced to the equivalent of doll hairs, then they're usually overpriced, because they should be really cheap seeds. So places where like heirlooms are priced at the same price as like expensive stuff, always makes me laugh. It's like Baker's Creek. They have some funky stuff. I'm probably never gonna buy from them. You know, like there's, you know, like it gets my hackles up anytime someone is like, oh, the reason to buy my seeds is because they're GMO free. I'm like, doy, it's like illegal. You legally can't sell GMO like seeds like retail. Like you know, I don't like the marketing. And they sell like heirlooms, you know. I'm like I don't want an obscure heirloom that like is purple. You know, it's just it's a different customer, and like it's, you know, there's nothing that I want to grow because it's like a funky color and like no one else has ever grown it before. I want, you know, I'm like in on my farm groups. I want to hear what they're like. Oh, I can't live without this. You know, I want like I'm very focused on productivity out of the plants. And so, you know, companies that aren't like talking about productivity as like perks for, you know, for their marketing on the specific seeds, you know, like it, hey guys, too loud.
I made some.
You know, it just makes it hard for me to breathe through. Okay, no, okay, stop it.
I made some with honey.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, guys, don't do that. You know, it's a different way of growing, right? It's like the same. Okay, so no, do not play with the tripod. That's super annoying to the camera.
We have the teeth.
Not until you're good. Okay, Daddy's down there. Go see what Daddy's doing. Yeah, productivity versus cool. Okay. I saw someone asking about seed swaps. I will never host a seed swap ever. First of all, I don't know if you guys know this based on like what I just like spent the last 15 minutes talking about. But I'm a mega seed snob. You know, I like, it warms my heart when you guys, like, I get offers all the time from you guys being like, oh, I have like some seeds, like let me send them to you. You gotta like try this out. And like I almost always say no, like as a rule, like 99.9% of the time, I say no, just because usually, like, first of all, like if I get like a packet with like 10 seeds in it, like it's gonna disappear. Yeah, totally. Like, last thing I need to do is give you my address. I have all these like packets of seeds. Okay, so the reason why I say no to people sending me seeds is like in the past, people have given me seeds before. And you guys know how many seeds I have. Like, you see them all come in. It's like everywhere, like in this room, there's probably like little piles of seeds. So it's very, very hard for me to keep all my seeds organized. And I have like a 3-year plan for seed trials, right? Like, there's only so many things I can experiment with every year to like test, right? Like, so this year, you know, I guess my seeds are coming on Wednesday, so it should be able to work. But I'm gonna be trialing sweet peppers. You know, I have a bunch of sweet peppers that I have coming. But almost always, you know, okay, Verona. Verona's a perfect example. I'm like, oh, Johnny says Verona's better than Juliet. So I bought their smallest packet of that. It had, like, Johnny's smallest tomato packets had 15 seeds in it. For me to keep track of 15 seeds or 15 plants, it's really difficult because I'm growing 100 of something. I do like an entire tray of tomatoes at a time. Like, I do a 72 tray at a time. So it's really difficult for me to have more than a handful of things that I only have a couple plants of. And so in the past, because every year, like, we can go back probably like, I don't know. How long have I guess so I've been gardening for 17 years now. But I definitely haven't been a seed snob but like, we could say for the last 7 years, I've been doing seed trials on different things at different times. And so people have given me seeds, and then they've disappeared. Or someone gifted me a bag of garlic, and I and they gave it to me like in the summer, and I plant garlic in the fall, or they gave it to me like in the fall after I planted. I forget what happened. It like disappeared, and then a year later I found it. These dry, crusty things. I never did anything with it. And then after people give me the seeds, they're always like, oh, so like, what did you think of that? Like, what did you think of that plant? Like, what did you think of this? What did you think of that? And it's like, okay, so I have this rule about canning, which is like kind of my way of like, my rule about canning is kind of like why I don't want to take people's seeds. So my rule with canning is I do not eat anyone else's canning. I try like as much as possible. I try to be like, oh no, I'm good. I do my own canning. But if you like came to my house and you're like, Serena, like, no, you got to take this. You got to try this. As soon as you leave, I'm opening the jar and I'm throwing the stuff in the garbage. I'm saving the jar, obviously got to save the jar, but I am not eating anyone else's canning. And the reason why I'm not eating anyone's canning is because I know enough about canning to be paranoid about me seeing what people do online about canning, or like my friends being like, oh yeah, like I do my pickles this way, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you're making poison. Like, thank you, no thank you. I'm like super paranoid. Like for food, it's for food safety reasons. I laughed because I don't talk about this all the time, but I think it was maybe last year. Someone came to the seedling sale, and they'd been like watching the channel for a while, and they brought me a gift, and of like a frozen like a freezer meal. And they were like, oh, like I brought you like food. I'm less paranoid about like food. Like if someone like brought me like, oh, I cooked you this, like I'd eat it, no problem. But the canning is just so much bad canning. But yeah, so someone brought me this like freezer meal, and they were like, oh, I brought you this. Like, you guys are always so busy, and so like I thought it would be nice to like just one of these days you can pull this out and cook it. And she was like, I have like an industrial level food safe, so that this is safe to eat. And I was like, oh my god, this is like I found my soulmate, right? Giving the woman who brought us the freezer meal, but then she told me about her like food safe certification at the same time. Yeah. So the in the same way that I'm like, okay, I don't want to like, okay, so if I go to the farmer's market and I want to buy canning, I drill the person that I'm buying the canning from, because I've read the rules for like selling canning at the farmer's market, and it makes me uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, someone could be like not following like safety guidelines and still be like able to get into these farmers markets.
It's my own recipe.
Oh, it's my secret. This is okay. So this is the thing that makes me paranoid about canning. The thing that makes me paranoid about canning is when people are like, oh, it's like low sugar. Like, oh, I made this low sugar jam. And I'm like, then why is it safe? Right? I'm like, the sugar is like the preservative. Or people who are, there's so many people who are like, oh, I'm on a low sodium diet, and so like I made you this canning, and I'm like, but if there's no salt, then how is it not poison? It's just I don't want to have to like ask a handful of really rude questions about what they do with their canning before I feel comfortable eating it. If you're a business, then you're fine with me asking like my questions about how you can, because you're a business, and if you don't like that, that's fine. You can tell me to, and I will gladly. It's usually a good sign that you don't want to buy that canning. But yeah, so I'm talking about why I don't want to take free seeds from people. Yeah. So basically, yeah. Yeah. So I, in the same way that like I don't want to get like, so I'm a snob about like canning, which I'm like, it's different with canning because it's not being a snob. It's just like being like safe. But yeah, so when it comes to the seeds, I just like, I don't want to have to, first of all, I don't want to have to keep track of it and then lose it and then feel really bad because I've done it so many times and I legitimately feel bad, right? Because I know that someone's like, oh, I like paid money for this and I like got this and I gave it to you. And it's just I'm too busy. I don't have time to feel guilty. There's enough things to feel guilty about. I don't need to feel guilty about that. And then the second thing,
there's just too many seeds to keep.
Yeah, and then I was saying there's just too many seeds for me to be able to trial them. And then after that, I'm like a snob, right? Like, so I'm like most likely I don't want to grow your seeds, right?
See, you would have picked all the varieties that you'd want, and not only would you have picked enough for all the space that we have, but you would have already been tight for space to get all the stuff that you are excited about in, and there's no like trial spot left.
Yeah,
the
trials are in the future.
The trial spots were filled like right off the bat.
Oh no, the trial spots were filled like years ago, right? And so when people offer what I am legitimately interested because what I want to know is why is this a seed that I should be growing? Yeah. Right? Because it's like, you guys know, I'll spend all the money in the world on seeds. I do not have any issues spending money on seeds. So if you're like, listen, Serena, I got the seed. It's like the best seed ever. You need to grow this. And you're like, oh, these are like really, really good. What I want to know is like why I should grow it. Not so much like, needing the seeds, right? Because it's like for, like all of the wild boar seeds that I grow, including pink Berkeley tie-dye, which is like literally going to be the main tomato that we sell on the farm. So okay, we'll go back. Okay, so Wild Boar Farm is where we get some of our really funky tomato seeds. So I learned about Wild Boar Farm because, see, now I'm trying to think. It was like someone on Instagram, but there's a few people that I follow. I can't remember. Yeah, so someone that I follow is like, I'm obsessed with Juliet. Juliet is my absolute favorite tomato. But Barry's Crazy Cherry has replaced Juliet as my favorite tomato. This is like the best tomato ever. And I was like, what? I'm like, first of all, I already trust your opinion because you said Juliet was the best. But this Barry's Crazy Cherry you're saying is like so much better. And then she had like this list and I was like, okay, I am sold. I go to like Wild Boar Farms. I buy Barry's Crazy Cherry. I get there, and obviously that is like a super dangerous website. There's like some super, super cool stuff. So, I buy this massive order. And so like I get it, I'm all excited to try it out. And like the Barry's Crazy Cherry is like so crazy. Like these clusters are just insane. But so in my Wild Boar Farm order, was a sample of pink Berkeley tie-dye. Occasionally Brad will throw in a sample with the orders. And so I got like a packet of this, and then I think I made like a post being like, oh, like Wild Boar Farm, so excited. And then I had a conversation with Brad briefly on Instagram. And he was like, oh, my best seller and my best tasting tomato is pink Berkeley tie-dye. And I was like, oh, well, this guy who like, sells all these incredible tomatoes, and who obviously is like a crazy tomato snob, is saying that his best is this pink Berkeley tie-dye, and I have the seeds in hand. So let's give that one a try. Yeah, because most of like the free sample seeds that I get, I usually just like give away to other gardeners, right? Like when people like add those like, oh, like a free gift for you into the boxes, like I'll like look at it, but like quite often it's like something I don't actually want to grow. I have tons of seeds that I like grew one year and then I'm like, yeah, I didn't like it. I just like I give it away. But yeah, so I grew this, and then it was amazing. But the point of that story is like I'm gonna grow on recommendation more than I'm gonna grow on free seeds. And someone recently offered me okay, so there's a hot pepper that Ian and I are super interested in because all the hot pepper growers are they're like the best hot peppers ever, and the flavor sounds like I don't like a crazy hot. And like it's supposed to have like lots of really rich, good flavors. They're called like Agis, like I think AJI, I think is how they're spelled. And so we'd heard of them last year. And because we did a ton of hot peppers last year for the first time for the seedling sale. We used the seedling sale as the excuse to experiment and buy all of these hot peppers. But we never bought any of the Agis because all the Agis, okay, that makes sense. All of them are like it's ahi, like it's not like a jalapeno. Yeah, like all the citrusy ones, right? Like all the yellowy and orangey citrusy flavored ones are the ones that everyone's like, oh, these are the best. Yeah, so we didn't end up buying any of those last year because when we went and looked for seeds, no one really had them. It wasn't like Johnny's had them. It wasn't like William Dam. I bought a lot of my hot pepper seeds last year from West Coast Seeds. So the only places I could find to get the ahis, okay, tell me guys if I'm saying it right. So ahi peppers, it was like on these specialty websites, and the seed was really expensive. And so I was like, well, I'm not gonna grow 50-cent seed for a seedling sale. That's too expensive, right? Because we don't sell them for enough that we can justify that pricing. But yeah, so I'd been like, okay, I hear they're good. I'm not gonna grow it. And I think maybe I was talking like on Instagram about it or something, and someone was like, "Oh, Serena, I'll send you some." But I have one. I have one for this year that I bought. I found a place local, and they weren't advertising it. They weren't advertising it as an ahi. They were advertising it like as a separate name. But I looked it up, and it is one. So I'm like, oh, perfect. I can like try one of these this pepper in this family. I can get it for a good price. I can experiment with it this year. And then Sugar Rush, because I'm pretty sure Sugar Rush Peach is another ahi. And then there's like a lemon one that everyone always talks about. And those are the ones. Those are the ones that we're like, oh, we got to try this. But yeah, so basically someone offered me the seeds, and I was like, well, like would I? And then I was like, no, because if I get it, it's gonna be too late. And it'll get lost. And I have this one to experiment with. And if I like it, right? Like if it's not like blow my head off too hot, which I doubt it will be, then I'll pay the money. I'll pay the money and buy it. For me, the price of seeds is kind of like, if I don't want it enough to pay the money, then I usually it means I don't want it enough, right? Like if I don't want it enough to pay the cost of the seed, then am I actually going to take care of it once I have the seeds? And then the guilt. You guys are going to send me all these things and I'm going to feel so guilt. Oh, it says hot as habaneros? Okay. Well, we'll see. I have one. Because that was the thing. I heard it had like the flavor profiles, because we grew a couple habaneros last year and like too hot, way too hot. Like I'm like, jalapeno I can eat, I can do like a cayenne, but any like, jalapeno or the like the habaneros like were insane. Like, I can't, like, not even in a recipe like cooked in. But I really like the flavor. I ended up I did a batch of hot sauce with the habaneros and like I really really liked the flavor. They're just so hot. So my hope on the ahis was that they were going to be a little bit milder. But my point about okay, so this is totally, devolved into me being like, don't send me seeds. Okay, there's one last reason why I'm always like, don't send me seeds, and that is because I'm in Canada and you're not actually supposed to send seeds across the border. Like you're like, if you send like an envelope, like a personal letter, and it has seeds in it and they find out that there's seeds in it, they'll just throw it in the garbage. You're like, seed companies are fine for sending seeds across the border, but like you're not supposed to. So I also, most people who offer to send me seeds are down in the States, right? And so I'm like, oh, you got, and then it's like an international letter, right? Like it's like, letter mail from like the States is like it's not like $1, it's like a couple dollars, and then they like get to the border and they get thrown in the garbage, or they get to me and like they end up on the ground and I feel like a horrible person. Yeah, I'm a snob about seeds, but I don't want to waste your seeds. There's so many people. There's so like I don't need seeds. Like I feel like I'm taking away from the needy when I get the seeds. Oh, my phone. It's like going super blue. My phone makes me grumpy. Okay. But the reason why I started talking, seeds get through the border all the time. You never know when they're not going to. But yeah, okay. So the reason why I started talking about being a seed snob is because of the seed swap question. Would I ever do a seed swap? So I'm not interested in participating in seed swaps because it's the exact same as as the free seeds, which is I'm a seed snob. I don't want random seeds. And then the other reason why I probably would never host a seed swap is that like it would be a lot of work. The list is long and the days are short. It like hosting a seed. Yeah, we need a seed snob emoji. Like the Ian and a flower crown one, but it's like me being like, no to like seeds. Like I always appreciate when I get offers because I'm like, how nice. It's like, you guys are all so nice. You're always like, oh, Serena, like you're the best, and like you helped me in my garden so much, and like here, like I want to like give you a present. Like it always like warms my heart, like legitimately when you guys. But I just, I don't need the seeds. But tell me if there's something that you're like, Serena, you gotta grow this. Definitely send me messages and be like, okay, Serena, I know you're seed snob, so here's like the 5 reasons why this is like the best pepper ever, or this is 5 reasons why this broccoli will change your mind about not being able to grow in the heat. Presents. we have an Amazon wish list because I know like people had asked us about like wanting to send things. I think like I was like, okay, what do we need? I'm sure it's like very sad for anyone who goes and looks at it because it's basically like garden gloves and snips. But I think you guys don't know how much I love garden gloves and snips. I got a pair from as a gift around Christmas time. Now I'm brain farting. But she's like been like following the channel for forever, and she's like one of the members on the channel. Ochita? I don't know if I said that right. She's not normally in the live chats here. But yeah, she sent me a pair of snips and a pair of garden gloves, and like I put like they're really nice garden gloves that I usually don't buy myself. Because most of my garden gloves are the ones, so they sell like an 8-pack or a 10-pack. Okay, I saw what you said, Life Goes North, so I'm gonna devolve into my why everyone should wear garden gloves. Story in 2 parts. Why everyone needs to start wearing garden gloves. Okay, but so I got these garden gloves that were on like my wish list, and they're by what's the company? I'm having a brain fart night. They're really nice garden gloves though. I normally get these like cheapy ones, and then I blow through the fingers super fast, right? Because I wear them all day, every day. I'm like digging with them on. But I got a pair of these ones. Wilson. No, I don't know. If Ian was here, he'd know because it's a Canadian company, and they make like lots of work gloves, and they were his like favorite brand for for like running saw and stuff. Anyway, so they contacted Watson. Yes, thank you, Watson. They contacted me last year. They were like releasing like a new line of gloves. And they saw on my Instagram or something. They were like, "Oh, we'll send you some gloves." And like my downfall, they sent me this like beautiful. I was like, "Oh yeah, these are the Instagram influencer gloves." They were like white leather with like all this all these like a pretty flower pattern. They were like really pretty. I was like, like I don't really like leather gardening gloves. I like the dipped woven stretchy gloves. Those are my favorite ones for working. But I will say, so I did end up wearing those. I was like, I'm gonna save these and only like use them for like making like fancy Instagram posts to cover up my my gardener French tips. But I didn't. I eventually started wearing them, and they fit really nicely. Because that's the thing is if the gloves don't fit good, then they don't work good. Anyways, but so they have like kids gloves, and like the kids gloves are they actually fit. I've been buying like garden gloves for the kids because they think they're so cute. And I'd never found a pair that were like actually functional. And these were like just like miniature adult, like good quality garden gloves for kids. So they sent me this pack. They sent these like beautiful Instagram influencer, obviously gloves. They sent 2 sets of the kids ones, so like one for each of my kids. And then they sent a pair of this like heavy duty dipped glove. Probably thinking that those would be for Ian, and I was like, nope, these are mine. And they were so nice. So I go through a pair of gloves every week. I blow the tips out on the fingers in a week of the like Costco cheapies that my mom always buys for me every time she sees them. But these Watson gloves, which look and feel the same, they lasted a month. Which is like, yeah, obviously saying they lasted a month isn't, it doesn't sound that great, but it means they lasted 4 times as long as these cheapies. But they're also 4 times as much money. So I'm always like, oh, I love the really nice ones. But so I have a hard time I have a hard time splurging on these, even though I'm like suckered. I'm suckered into wanting them now that they got me hooked. They gave me my free sample and now I'm hooked for life. But yeah, so I got a pair sent to me, and as a gift, and so I'm like, "Ooh, new season, new gloves!" And I'm all excited to be finally busting out my gloves. So I know it seems ridiculous, but new gloves really do warm my heart. Okay. I don't know. Did I answer the sweet seed swap thing? I think I did. I'm too busy to host one. Okay, so I'm not going to go too much longer. Let's try to hit like only an hour and a half on this. Okay, but so why you should wear garden gloves? Okay, a lecture directed at all of you people who think that you shouldn't wear garden gloves because it's like hard to like feel what you're doing. Because that used to be me. I was all like, oh, it's like it's hard to feel what you're doing. It's hard to do it. And it was when I started wearing garden gloves, it was really difficult. The trick is you need to get them to fit properly. I have like pretty big hands. So I fit a medium. I think like so I can wear like because most of them aren't like gendered, right? So like a medium is the size that fits me. But like if you have small hands, you need to look for like a size small or a size extra small. You need to make sure that they're snug. And that is the reason why I like the like stretchy dipped ones. And then the other thing too is because of the dip, they have like actually really good grip, right? So because if your hands get wet, then they can be they can still grip. Yeah, and you may need child size, exactly. But there's nothing wrong with wearing a child size if you just get them to fit your hands, right? Because it's the same as wearing like rubber gloves to do the dishes. If they're like all baggy and saggy, then they're really awkward and difficult to wear. Yeah, my nails still get dirty too. 100%. I'm not wearing it to keep my fingers clean. So the reason why I wear garden gloves is the exact same reason why I always wear a hat. And in fact, I checked the weather the other day. We already have like the UV being reported. We all have to start wearing our hats again. So yeah, it's about safety less so than it is about like keeping your hands clean or about like the comfort for working. Okay, so 2 reasons for safety. Okay, reason number 1, a bacteria that is super common in soil. Most people don't know this. Most people aren't super paranoid about this. I am because like I'm like, oh my god, having employees. Yeah, super common is staph in soil. So you're doing stuff, you're working out in the garden, you get like little cuts on your hands, and now you're like digging around in the dirt, and now you have like a staph infection in your hands from gardening. If you have gloves on, you're less likely to cut your hands. For me personally, it also comes down to how dry my hands are. So anytime I touch dirt, it's like instantly like my skin is like it's just like instantly dead and dry and uncomfortable. There's not enough hand cream in the universe for me to be able to fix my hands if I spend a day in the dirt. And especially potting soil. Potting soil is the absolute worst. It's so bad. So by keeping my hands covered when I'm working in the dirt, it's a game changer for how dry my hands are. My hands, like, still all day long, I'm putting hand cream on. Like, and the other thing too is with my gloves. So I don't have one pair of gloves. I have one pair that I'm really excited about. But I have like a million pairs. As soon as I notice that my hands are wet, I take the gloves off, throw them into my pile. I have like a shelf where I just like throw them. I put cream on, and then I get a dry pair of gloves, new gloves on, back into the garden. So it's about, protecting your hands from the dirt. Is reason number one. Okay, reason number two is, so my friend, who is the person who's going to be working here with us this year, like the person that we're going to be our employee, that we've like told you that we're like, woohoo, we're so excited. So she was working at a farm last year, and she had a day where she was harvesting parsnips. They had to get the harvest. They harvested up the parsnips. They're getting them ready, putting them into storage. It was a fall day, getting ready for winter storage crops on the farm. The next day, she woke up at 4 a.m. and had to go to the hospital because she had chemical burns so bad on her hands and her arms, that they had to give her painkillers and intense anti-inflammatory things, because parsnips have their sap. So the sap that comes out of a parsnip, it can get on your skin and it can react. It's not only the skin, it reacts with the sun, right? So you get it on your skin, it reacts with the sun, and it causes very, very dangerous chemical burns. And there's lots of plants, right? Her hands were so bad, she wrapped in gauze, couldn't work for 2 weeks, I think. It just crazy. And this isn't no one's ever heard of this. All of our other employees, she had the most extreme reaction, but it was basically this entire farm operation was shut down for a week because the fact that they were working with the parsnips, they weren't being cautious. It's just one of those things. No one ever thought about it. And pretty much everyone was injured from this day of harvesting parsnips. And in the garden, probably not an issue, right? In the garden, you're out there, you pick a couple parsnips for dinner, you get some stuff on your hands, but it's fine because you take the parsnips to the sink, you wash them, you're washing the sap off of your hands. Everything when you get into farming goes from being a minor nuisance, something to maybe be aware of, to an issue because I did it for 8 hours a day instead of for 10 minutes, right? It's all about, exposure. Same with the dirt, right? Sure, I could go pot a single thing up with my gloves off. My hands would be dry and I'd suffer. But it wouldn't be end of the world. But when I go and I have to, pot up all day long without gloves, my hands are just gonna be so dry that they'd be cracked and bleeding, and then I put them in to the staph, and then I'd amputate my hands off because I get all these staph infections. This is where my brain goes. I'm oh my God, what if my employees don't want to wear gloves in the future? Yeah, because I'm really serious about the gloves. Yeah, so, but if you had been wearing gloves when you're harvesting those parsnips, still maybe I wouldn't want to do 8 hours of parsnip harvesting even with gloves. I'd still be kind of paranoid. But flowers too, there's tons of flowers that have the sap and everything. But yeah, so gloves. And I can relate to not wanting to do it. The gloves are kind of the long sleeves. You'll see me. I always have long sleeves. I have the gloves. I have the hat. It's like a uniform basically. And it took training to be able. My gloves are on the steps. I walk out the door and I put gloves on. I when I come in, we have a mud room. So I come in, I take my shoes off, I take my gloves off, they go on the steps, I take my hat off. I usually put my gloves in my hat. I put it on the step, and then they're there. And so as soon as, to go along with putting my shoes on for going out to the farm. Anytime I go out to the farm, it's like shoes. The hat goes on, the gloves goes on, and it's a habit, but it's something that I've really worked on cultivating. And as I was saying with the long sleeves, I find it super comfortable. Like you'll see, I like pants, long sleeves, covered. I wear. Ian makes fun of me, calls me like like with I have like my button up, like oversized men's button up shirts, and like the collar like popped. That it's the being covered is about like sun. It's about covering my skin from the sun. And then it's also about those things like the parsnips, right? Like if I was cutting, and a good example of things that are similar to the parsnips, because I don't grow parsnips here on the farm, but I'm not opposed to growing carrot flowers. But I'm not opposed to growing like Queen Anne's lace. I think dill can sometimes, right? Because these are all things that are in the same family. People can be sensitive to the dill in the same way. You're picking it. Like I pick an armful. I got it on my arm. Right? I could be getting the sap all over my arm if I was like wearing like a bare armed thing. So it's about like protecting my skin. All you need to do is go like in like, a sports bra and no gloves and go like try to harvest, go roll around in some zucchini plants to know the perk of being covered up. But yeah, no, totally. Like the Hispanics, I see them, they got like their headscarves, and I'm like, I need to get a headscarf to like go along with my hat. I need to get like the fishing gear where they have like the veils that like, and the neck pieces. Because you gotta cover up. I'm probably more sun paranoid than the average person. So I've been like mulling over in my head as I was like, oh my god, we have to start wearing hats. In like there's still snow. The snow melted just the other day. We got fresh snow on the hill. I'm like, we need hats. And I'm like, oh, we need to. I'm like, we should make like a sun safety video. I need to do a like wear your hat video. Get everyone to keep their hats on. Yeah, like the color of my skin. Few things make me prouder in the summer than when I like go and I take a shower and I'm like, okay, I'm doing good. Like I'm not like crazy tanned. Because I like the sun, and I like, I'm not opposed to, before we started the farm, I was fine with like going to the beach, getting some sun. Like I love laying out in the sun. But it comes down to how much, when you're working 9 to 5 in an office, if you want to go and lay in the sun for a couple hours on a Saturday, then that's a little bit of a different issue than me being out there, until it's dark every day. As soon as I started doing the farming, it was something that I was like, okay, this is something I need to take very seriously, because if I want to farm forever, then I need to make sure that I'm staying healthy, right? You gotta like make sure that you don't like break your back, and you gotta make sure that you don't give yourself skin cancer. When I started farming, I heard this story about, and I think it was on a farm group. Oh, and so I see someone saying light colors linen. My rule is it like cotton. I want everything to be cotton for when I wear it. So like that's part of the reason why I wear those like men's long sleeve shirts. They're usually like, I'm reading the tag, and so I'm buying like a cotton, something that's breathable, right? Something that you can sweat through. I find the synthetic stuff, like those things that are supposed to be like sportswear, I find that stuff super uncomfortable. I don't know why that's supposed to be what you sweat into, like all stinky. Okay, but my scary skin cancer story. Okay, so this was like a farmer story. It was like the daughter of like a farmer. I feel like I saw this in a Facebook group. So her dad had been a farmer forever, and he always wore his hat. He was like very diligent. He always wore his hat. But the hat that he wore was a baseball cap. And so what happened was he, nonstop sun on his ears. And so he ended up getting skin cancer so bad on his ears, like it was just like over and over and over again, because they had an entire lifetime of sun exposure, because when you get your baseball cap on, your ears are hanging out, and he had to get they took his ears off. And so it was a picture, it was like a picture of her dad with like no ears, and she was like, listen, like be sun aware. As farmers you don't realize how much that sun adds up. And it was like one of those things, right? Because like thinking about your ears, right? Like it's so specific, right? And so that's why we always, like, I wear the widest brim hat I can get. Ian's hat isn't really wide enough, so usually he quite often has like a scarf clipped onto the back. And I really dislike sunscreen, but I worry about my face, even just like the reflection. That's why yeah, and like I'm definitely aware. I always have my glasses on. I've started to, anytime I buy new glasses, I make sure that they have like a UV. They have a UV protection coating on my glasses. Like I go for my like annual eye checkup, and I've been like, oh, what do I need to do for sun safety for my eyes? Because like I have really bad eyes. I have like some like health problems with my eyes, so I'm like, it's hard to weed by feel. I need to keep these eyes as healthy as long as possible. Yeah, it's just it's one thing, it's one thing to have having a day at the beach, right? It's one thing to be worried about going to the beach, and it's another thing when it's like when it's day and night. It starts, you got to think about different things, right? It's the same like what I was saying about the parsnips with the sun. You can harvest a basket of parsnips and be fine, but when you're out there in the field harvesting for a whole day, that's when it starts to get really dangerous if you're not aware of this thing that you can just kind of take for granted, or forget, right? Like how many people think of this thing, because my friend even, she's like, oh, I have these like horrible, she's like, I have these burns and I have like no idea where they came from. And I was like, oh, well, like what were you working with on the farm? I'm like, yeah, there's tons of stuff that will give you like chemical burns. And she was like, oh, well, we did parsnips. And I'm like, well, there you go. And she was like, I'd never even heard of that. Just makes me so paranoid. Her story makes me so paranoid about employees. I worked, and some of like my sun safety tricks, like in the wearing gloves and stuff too. Oh, so one last thing. Yeah, okay. I do see that because I do. Ian's got the kids in the shower. I can hear them, so I know that I'm running out of time. One last thing for the gloves, because I had this happen last summer, and I worked at a nursery for a summer, and this happened. So with the gloves, because they can get wet, and then like your hands like stay wet, and then there's the fabric for like nasty things to grow in. You do want to be careful for funguses. I'm prone to funguses, which is like a crazy thing to say. But apparently I am, because I get like funguses like really easy. When I was pregnant, I got like covered with a body, like my entire body had a rash. And my doctor's like, oh yeah, some pregnant women get that. It's like the pH of your body changes when you're pregnant. She's like, it's just a fungus. And I'm like, ugh, like classic. I'm like, yeah, of course I have a fungus. But yeah, so it's easy to get funguses on your hands, like wearing those wet gloves. So I'm careful about changing out the gloves when they get wet. I try to keep dry. And then I know you're probably not supposed to. I think that the gloves, because the film like of the gloves that I like to use, when I wash them, it gets kind of sticky, almost like it's not supposed to be exposed to soap. But I do wash my gloves. I'll put a load of gloves on just to try to keep them as clean as possible. And I try to, because I'm a dirty fungus person, I'm basically a human mushroom. So we had a girl who was working here last year in the summer, and I didn't want to potentially have a fungus and then like be like, oh, here, throw my gloves on. So I am like I'm a little bit careful about not sharing my gloves. I almost always have a pack of fresh gloves. But so what I did last year for her is like we had a pair of gloves, and I think we put X's on them. Anything that was like for her, or like, because on Jiffies, right? They're like okay, first of all, coconut oil is like gross and dries my skin out. I hate coconut oil, but I have crazy skin. But coconut oil isn't going to prevent me from getting a fungus. You could like make me live in a coconut oil bathtub, and I would still get a fungus. The way, basically, when I got the rash on my hands, if you want to get like an antifungal treatment, before we go any further, I'm going to say, if you have a fungus, if you're experiencing what you think is a fungus, you should probably consult your doctor to make sure that it is what you think it is, because it could be other things. Don't be taking my talk about funguses to be medical advice. If you have something, please consult with your doctor. But when I get funguses, because I get them all the time, and I've been to many doctors many times, I just go and I buy the yeast infection creams, which is like an antifungal cream, and those always work really good. Yeah. Medical disclaimer. Medical disclaimer. Don't listen to me ever about anything. That's my advice. Well, I just said I'm a human mushroom. Obviously I don't know how to take care of myself. Obviously I need to like wash my gloves more. I'm a dirty person. But yeah. So be aware that when you wear gloves all day, every day, that you should wash them so that your skin doesn't grow mushrooms like mine does. And be aware, if your skin grows mushrooms, that you don't want to give other people mushrooms. Yeah, they're all the same. They're like Ian doesn't want to buy the yeast infection cream. So he buys athlete's foot cream, but it's the exact same medicine. But I'm pretty sure that it's cheaper. I think the tube, when you buy it for like the yeast infection stuff, is like cheaper than the athlete's foot one. I find, how usually it's the other way around. Usually anything for women is more expensive. But I guess like whoever makes creams really don't want women to have scary vaginas. Yeah, totally. Someone's saying, I guess you gotta go and check. On that note, I can hear the hairdryer going. I don't know if there's any last quick question. I guess I can tell you what we got coming. We filmed a paper pot making video. I made one of these 2 years ago, and no one ever watched it. I titled it, grow your plants in garbage or something. And Ian's like, no wonder no one ever watched it. But before I made this video, I went and watched a bunch of other how to make paper pot videos on YouTube. And everyone is being super complicated. There was so many extra unneeded steps. in all these other videos. So new video, like you didn't watch the last one, so we're making it again. And this time it's going to be all about not garbage. It's going to be about how quick and easy they are. But yeah, so because I want to get that up because I know that I start my stuff like super late, but I'm sure there's lots of you that are, you know, needing the paper pots and, you know, would probably like to know how to do it if you've only ever seen me have them. But yeah, they're great. I love the paper pots, and I go over like a bunch of like the things that I like about them in the video. It should like the goal is, I don't know, like obviously I talk forever about everything. Best ever paper pots. I think the title is because like I was like, what about this? What about this? And I think we came up with like the easiest paper pots ever. And then we can put like exclamation marks. No, we definitely will not title it Talking Pot because that is guaranteed easy peasy paper pots. I like that one. Yeah. But yeah, so I think the plan is because like the last video, it was like a week ago. And then exciting, I'm gonna do another collab with Nicole from Flower Hill Farm. This time we're gonna talk about filler. Because I'm super excited about filler. And so I have to make this video, but she's already done her part. So if the video doesn't come out anytime soon, you can yell at me. Nicole's great. I was like, Nicole, let's do this. And she's like, here you go. Will this work? And I'm like, oh, I didn't think about it since I asked you to do this. But yeah, it should be fun. And I know that it's like something that lots of you guys are interested to get a list. I have so much fun stuff. Oh, and like I didn't even tell you guys this. Like Team Flowers, prepare to lose your mind. Tuesday, Ian is driving down to Vancouver to get my my wholesale like perennials and dahlias. My super exciting Van Noort wholesale order that's like it was like I think it was like $3,000 or $4,000. There's like so much exciting stuff in there. I have like a ton of sedums. I have all these yarrows, all these super colored yarrows, 400 dinner plate dahlias, as well as dahlias for me because I'm like dinner plate dahlias. Sell them, get rid of them. I'm not growing them on the farm, but I have like a bunch for me. I have like tons of lilies. I've been teasing like nonstop. That is gonna be so exciting. But so we got that coming. And I almost feel like it's too good to make a live video about it. Because I also have my William Dam seeds coming on Wednesday. So that could be the live video for next week. But I'm almost like, oh, so exciting to open up the box, you know, especially because they're basically going to look like little dead plants. So maybe I need to... Oh, Sunflower Steve. I know I just like talked about a half an hour about not wanting free seeds, but I might want free seeds from Sunflower Steve if it's some of his beautiful sunflowers. Though I have to admit, everything that Sunflower Steve has shown in like those videos with Nicole, the thing that I drooled about the most, which like I know cannot get sent to me because of the border. There's no sneaking that over the border, but like, oh, Sunflower Steve, because okay, so in my order, the thing I'm the most excited about is this is like my number one most exciting plant, and I know no one else is going to be as excited about me. But I have Baptisia, I think I'm saying that right, which is, I know, I'm just finishing up, which is false indigo, and like I'm super excited to have this for the flowers. It's supposed to be like such a good filler, but in one of the videos that Nicole had of Sunflower Steve, he has all these like fun colored Baptisias, and I was like, oh, it comes in more colors than blue. You know, I like blue, but different colors, fun. And I'm sure I could probably source some of those. in Canada. But yeah, oh, my dream, like, oh, if someone could make like a variegated one of those, oh, that would be cool. No, but I think I have your, because you sent us an email. It's buried, but I might be able to search that up. But yeah, so I might actually make a standalone video of opening up my order. Even though it's massive, I might divide it into two things. Maybe just what dahlias I have, and because if I do it as a recorded video, then I can give you guys pictures. Like I know that we can bring Ian in here every once in a while, and he can like hold the phone up. He can like search up the pictures. But it's nice if I can like go and like have on screen and be like, this is what this is, because it's they look boring. But yeah, so that is super exciting. More sunflower videos. You guys, I'm in Canada, like literally the like ground's still frozen. You gotta be patient. We'll have lots. We're talking about maybe doing like a field of sunflowers, which would be exciting. And then the only other thing I have coming up, we have a farm tour coming up for actual videos. Ian's been working on this grow light video, which is going to be exciting, but it's also going to take forever. But it's a video that I'm never going to watch because it's all about the science of like how grow lights work. I'm like, I don't care. You just learn how they work and I'll grow the plants under it. But yeah, we have like that coming up. And then I also have a video that I'm like mentally working on. We haven't filmed anything of doing what a CSA is. Because we're talking about doing a flower CSA for this year, which I've not done anything for, and I need to. If I'm gonna do a CSA, I have to try to sell it. But I think that's like one of the last videos that I had kind of planned for our business series. I want to have a video that explains to you guys what a CSA is, just so you know. Ian's always like, people know what things are, but I think that we should explain these simple things so that everyone knows, because a CSA is like not a common term just because we know what it is. Our average last frost is beginning of May, but we start planting soon. Ian needs to prep some beds for me. Okay, but I have to go put my children to bed. Oh, and hey, guys, did you notice? No bedtime alarm. I turned off the alarm, so now we don't get buzzed at the 1 hour point.
Did you see that me and my brother made a garden?
Oh yeah, sure. Tell.
Me and my brother made a garden.
Yeah, Leah's been working on the farm.
We've been making a little garden, flowers and some food.
Yeah, they've been planting seeds. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for joining, guys. We always appreciate how many of you come and hang out with us. It always kind of like blows our minds that so many of you want to hang out. And we will see you guys next week. Okay, thanks so much. See ya.
Bye.